All right. I guess we are into champ select already.
Okay.
Now, the real global bans, yesterday we saw banned a lot. Blitzcrank never made it into a game. We did have a couple
Smart.
Lux and a couple Nidalee. I think one Nidalee and a couple Lux. And Lux never lost. The Nidalee game, Nidalee dominated with Spears. And I would not be surprised to see Nidalee and Lux either banned or possibly, a long shot for that first pick, trying to force the other team to ban them. If you're on blue side, you have that first pick advantage, then, maybe leaving that Nidalee open so that they have to ban him with their last ban.
Yeah.
But Blitzcrank, Lux, Nidalee banned a lot. Jace was a very popular ban, and also Master Yi was a very popular ban. We saw one Master Yi, the AP Yi, and he didn't really dominate the game. He had a couple times where he got some decent resets, but they had a really good amount of crowd control, and they were good at shutting him down when he did get into the fight, making sure that he couldn't meditate and just kind of eliminating him before he could, go Highlander, Alpha Strike, and just get those resets where he just kind of spams the damage on your team in AoE.
Pro tip to all helpfuls for future Proving Grounds tournaments, though, is to never allow Lux into a game, ever, for any reason. As you said, I guess Lux won. Oh, how many times was Lux picked yesterday?
I think that she got into 3 games.
And she won every one?
Yeah, every time she was on the winning team.
Yeah, you absolutely cannot let that champion go through. It's just simple mathematics. Or, well, it's not even mathematics. It's just a laser beam shoots across the screen and everything in its wake dies. I don't understand how anybody would ever allow that champion to fly through. We've got our first pick here, though, Fiddlesticks on the blue team.
So as we're talking about Lux, she's not banned, and she's going to be picked up by Pyro Gaming because blue team, they call us Never, wanted that Fiddlesticks right off the bat. Fiddlesticks is very strong in my opinion. He has great CC, he has AoE silence, his poke is awesome. I mean, the Dark Winds just bounce and bounce and bounce, and it's really rough to try and counter that because he can kind of shut down an engagement. Like if they get a good binding from their Lux, he can use a Dark Wind to just stop them from poking whatsoever. And if the AD carry is out of position, Fear is exactly what it said. It's terrifying.
Yeah. Silence is a really strong tool here in Murder Bridge 2, especially whenever everything is centered around you being able to pop off your skills before the enemy team to pop off their skills, and team fights where people are shut down, not able to use their skills, and forced to just auto attack. That can make a big difference. And I see that they're picking up Malphite here, which means they kind of want to silence the threats on their team, which will probably end up being Lux. A lot will be the target of a lot of that. And then Malphite's going to be able to come in, ult, and then whoever they pick as their carry is going to be able to come in there and deal the damage and get the fights won for them.
Yeah, they're going to have a really great engagement combination between the Unstoppable Force and the Crow Storm, and it's really not even going to... I think we saw a Fiddlesticks last time where they had a Sona and a Mumu. So either Sona or Mumu would get a great crescendo or a Curse of the Sad Mummy, and then all of a sudden Fiddlesticks would be so far back, he would ult in and then flash on top of their team, fearing the AD carry or one of their stronger AP champions and silencing everybody and then just nuking them down with that AoE damage. But Jarvan would be a good pick to kind of counter and have a counter engagement versus the Malphite. So if Malphite Unstoppable Force is in, he could grab his standard into the team, Cataclysm, and lock everybody down so they couldn't just follow Malphite in and follow up all that extra damage.
It should be noted too that since they do have the Jarvan champ there, that Lux and Misfortune could both pop ults on whoever gets kidnapped by that ultimate, and they'll just be absolutely wiped from the fight.
Yeah, we saw MF actually banned and played quite a bit yesterday. Her ultimate is what really is the game changer. I mean, that bullet time, really difficult to escape when it's a 5v5 engagement, and the AoE damage just nukes you down because not every champion can grab a lot of armor. I mean, typically a Fiddlesticks is fairly squishy because they go for that Zonias. In a Murder Bridge situation, you don't usually see them go like a Rod of Ages or even a Rylays. They're usually damage with the Zonias. But they'll have the advantage with a Soraka to hopefully top up some of the harass from the Lux, and double silence is going to be very strong for the blue team here.
I agree. We'll see what the last pick for purple is going to be here. I do like the Kale pick as well. Just in case somebody gets hopped on there, there is an opportunity to correct an error with her ultimate. Like if somebody gets caught by Jarvan's ultimate, she can ult on top of them and hopefully win the engagement. And they do have Soraka there, so there's an opportunity to heal them up and keep them sustained through the ultimate. And hopefully they'd be able to turn the fight around. But we'll see how that comes into play there.
And Caitlyn is actually an AD carry that can get out of the Cataclysm. So if he does kind of beeline it for Caitlyn, she is one of the champions that can use 90 caliber net to just kind of pop herself over that wall and get out of there. She also is probably going to run the flash. I mean, these aren't the final summoners, but most of the time, flash on the 80 carries. We'll definitely see a flash on Fiddlesticks and Malphite. I don't think that'll change. But we saw Alistair picked up yesterday a couple times, and his main strength, besides his massive amounts of CC, is his Triumphant Roar. He's going to be able to help heal up the AoE damage coming out of those Dark Winds and any poke that comes out from the Caitlyn as well, because his Triumphant Roar, I think they maxed it. The last two Alistairs we saw were maxing Triumphant Roar, and the base heal on that, up to like level 8 or 9, does a great job of just keeping everybody topped up.
Absolutely. It should be mentioned, too, that he does have a slight opportunity to mess up their CSing plan. If their intention is to keep Caitlyn fed with CS, Alistair could screw up the opportunity to CS by just healing the creeps and keeping the wave pushed.
Yeah, and we saw that it's going to be Caitlyn again on You Mad Bro Nasty. I was pretty sure that was who was running Caitlyn yesterday. I think that You Mad Bro is a Diamond player last season, and one of the I think it's the only Diamond border we saw. Not saying that means you're great at it, but I've been in solo queue many times and seen Platinums and Diamonds come into my rank queues, and I'm like, I'm a Goldie low player on a couple different accounts, but every time I saw them, we lost. And so I'm not convinced that they're the best players because they expect different type of play out of their teammates instead of realizing that they've messed up their placement and they're not doing very well, so they can't count on their silver or bronze support to play the way they want to.
Yeah, exactly, and that's very important in solo queue. Well, we've got a 2-minute and 47-second wait for the match to begin. I would like to mention, I don't think we talked about the Ryze pick here. I actually really like Ryze as an opportunity to just catch somebody in a snare, and that's just more setup for MF or the Lux, and I really do like that the opportunities that Ryze presents to their team.
Yeah, he's a great last pick. I mean, he's tanky, he does good AoE damage, he has some hard CC with his Rune Prism. He increases the magic pen, which they have a decent amount of magic damage with that Lux. But we're going to see really, it's going to be about the engagements on these fights, whether or not they wait for a flash pulverize or if they bring the fight to them with the Unstoppable Force and the Crow Storm. So I think we're going to see a couple big engagements in this game, and I don't think they're all going to go one way. I think that they're all going to be, the really big engagements are going to be, just stomps. They're going to be, 4 for 1s, 5 for 2. They're going to be these big exchanges, but I think each team is going to be on the top of a couple different exchanges. So it's going to matter where the exchanges happen. If it's a tower dive and you get 4 of them down for one of yours, you get that tower and possibly the next tower too, because your minions are right there and you're able to push the damage on the tower. But if you engage and you're in the defense mode at your tower and you get the kills, you really don't always have enough time to get up there and push down that tower, and that's what wins games. We actually saw 2 games yesterday where they lost in kills, but they won a game fairly handily because they were pushing the towers down when they did get the kills.
Yeah, I feel like Purple's going to have like a strong opportunity at the early end of the game because they have Malphite's really reliant on his ult in order to start a fight, whereas Alistair can pretty much start an engagement at level 1 or even 2 for sure. And with Ryze having Snare and everybody being able to follow up on that, I feel like they're going to have the early poke going on. But as the game gets later and later and Caitlyn and Malphite start getting their items set up, Fiddlesticks will get his ultimate. I feel like the engagements are going to slide a little bit more towards blue team. But there's opportunities, like if purple team can capitalize off those early engagements and take towers, it's going to cause a real big problem for blue team to be able to come back from that. So we'll just have to see how strong purple team can take opportunities in the early game versus blue team in the late.
Yep, but we're just about to get in the game. We have about 10 seconds, and I'll be able to jump in to spectate through spectate, a game within a game. And if you're just joining us, this is the Gameception. If you're just joining us, it's SurrenderAt20.net's first mini tournament, a Murder Bridge tournament. And if you want to get in the next tournament, make sure that you're hooked up with their Twitter and their social networking, and you follow them here if you ever want to watch the next tournament as well. I'm sure there's going to be more because they got 16 teams very easily for this tournament. And it's actually running pretty smoothly. I mean, last night we had a couple little hiccups that took a little extra time, but some things are just outside of your control. But the stream's been smooth, and you can catch all the action at SurrenderAt20.net. There's also the brackets there, and you can get an update on what the prizes are like and things like that.
All right, loading up now. Oh, somebody's using a Safari Caitlyn skin. I have a friend that really, really dislikes that skin, so I purchased it intentionally to force him to play with me with that skin.
Yep, that was the same skin we saw last night as well, coming out of You Mad Bro I'm Nasty. And I like the Obsidian Malphite. I think Malphite looks more like the champion he's supposed to be with that skin. I like the Frozen one as well, but he looks like, you know, a pile of volcanic rock and throwing out shards that are falling off of him. But he walks kind of funny. I think every one of his skins, he walks just kind of weird, like he leads with his head for some reason.
He walks with swagger, sir. We'll say that. He walks with swagger.
Yeah. And we're getting to the game now. Typical starting items coming out. Actually, interesting to see a Stinger coming out of Kale right off the bat. Probably going to go right for that Nashir's Tooth for the CDR and attack speed. But usually we don't see them start right off like that. We see them start with like a Doran's Ring or something with a little bit of mana regen. But everything else looks fairly standard. I'm not sure where the Rejuvenation Bead, though, is going on the Fiddlesticks. That's kind of a weird one as well. But other than that, Alistair goes for support items, and the Giants on the tanks.
He did go 2 Duran's Rings, so maybe he's just wanting to stay alive through the early game. He's worried about being focused. I don't know. It's a questionable pick, but we'll see how it turns out for them.
That's very possible, and we saw this last time, but the Fiddlesticks will always push way up, try to get the champions grouped up, and the Dark Wind, you see, already has 2 points in it. Didn't even grab a point in his drain. And each bounce is doing 110 damage right now. And it bounces up to 5 times.
5 times. If he can get everybody grouped together, oh my gosh, the damage.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of early game damage. And you see a lot of support Fiddlesticks sometimes grabbing that Dark Wind. And by level 3, if he gets it on just 2 champions, you see a crazy amount of damage in that bottom lane.
It does look like blue side is trying to give Caitlyn her CS here. We'll see if that proves beneficial here in the later half of this game.
Yep, they're going to have a lot of magic damage increase too from the Star Call spam out of that Soraka, so she might be a decent target to focus down if you can get her out of the fight very quickly, because their silences can be very devastating. You'll always see her silence when an Alistair gets in there, and I've seen some really quick silences before when an Alistair will flash and then get silenced by Soraka and just stand there like, uh-oh. Now what?
I've been on the receiving end of that, and I can tell you it's absolutely heartbreaking.
Yep, and we're not seeing too much go on right now. We are seeing all that CS go on to the Caitlyn right there. She already 11 CS. Here's an engagement right there onto the Soraka. Big damage coming down her here. This can be first blood for the MF. And Sonnenblume now trying to get out of there on that Alistair, forced to flash. And it's going to be a 1-for-0 exchange, but a lot of summoners being used right there. They did use the flash on and the barrier to kind of keep that J4 alive, but Soraka a little too far ahead and ate that damage. Now the counter poke coming down from Heimbro.
That poke was strong. Jarvan was almost taken down from just the bouncing of the birds alone.
Yeah, and we'll see. The light bindings can really change a fight. I mean, if they're able to light bind, they have so much CC they can chain on top of that light binding, and we'll see if they're able to land those on that Caitlyn who's up front and really kind of just stomp somebody out very quickly. And that was a good engagement right there. They're jumping back in again. Enigma very low health though, and the Lux getting over onto that trap, dropping her HP down, and I don't think Triumph from Ore is going to be enough to help them right now.
No, certainly not with enough levels in it. But this was the early engagement that we were talking about with red or purple side. Sorry, I have colorblind mode on. But purple side being able to just catch one person out and just collapse on them immediately. I'm wondering how blue team is going to be able to counteract these moves.
Well, they can, as long as it's not the fiddlesticks being caught out, they can always use it as a reason to engage, because they have the Kale ultimate. I mean, at level 6, the person who gets quote-unquote caught might just be the perfect person to hit with the intervention and then counter-engage with a lot of extra damage. But the roots and airborns on the purple side it's crazy. It's like everybody has a root or airborne except for MF, and she's just going to sit back at the bullet time anyways.
She is a bullet time bot to be used for her R button.
Just a little bit of poke back and forth. Soraka got to go back and get a couple extra items, but not much because she died so early right there. MF picking up that kill, that's the one they wanted on, but look at the CS. We don't talk a lot about CS on Murder Bridge, but 33 CS on that Caitlyn. She's got almost all of it right now.
15 on MF too.
Yeah, Rise and MF are kind of picking up the CS together, but I think it's definitely better stacked onto the AD carry.
Absolutely. Especially with their comp as well, everybody else is just focused on either disabling or just murdering somebody, whereas the MF just the Caitlyn just needs to sit back, collect her CS, and come back with late game with items.
Yeah, and remember, everybody who's watching, this is a best of one. There's an engagement onto the Fiddlesticks. He's going to get rooted right there. The Pulverize from Alistair, forced to flash out of there. A good engagement onto that light binding, and some great damage coming down from the purple team as they kind of push their way in out onto this creep wave. But once again, the creeps will be back at their tower. Alistair's going to sit back and roar up their HP. But we saw the last time that it kind of falls off. After a little 8 or 9 or so, it stops being effective enough because they're not building AP on those Alistairs, so the base heal just isn't enough to top people up anymore.
Yeah, Alistair did really cancel out that engagement, though, with just a simple headbutt pull, and I really do like that about this team. Oh, Jarvan's going in. He hit level 6. The Caitlyn, the MF ult came down, but it was canceled by the Malphite ult.
Yeah, and they're going to keep pushing in. They want the tower dive right here. A great light binding, sniping out that Kale. A double kill for J4, one for Lux coming down there. And it looks like they're just kind of hanging back. Fiddlesticks not able to ult back in. The Unstoppable Force did come down to slow them, but it wasn't enough because Fiddle was just too weak to kind of dive in there with his ultimate. He would have just died right off the bat. And we'll see if they can scale up a little bit better. Caitlyn using that 90 caliber net to get out of there as Rod gets a little too close and eats some free tower hits right there.
It was a good 2-for-0 exchange, though, on this side of the purple team.
3-for-0 exchange, actually.
Oh, was it 3? Who else
Soraka,
died?
Malphite, and Kale.
Oh my gosh, I didn't see the Malphite go down.
Yeah, he tried to get in there with his barrier and his rock shield up there, but it was not enough to keep him alive.
That's right. He did ult in, to cancel out the MF's ultimate there. I didn't see that he died in the subsequent damage, though. It happened so quickly.
And now they're going to jump in here. They know they don't have any ultimates, so blue team feeling very comfortable kind of pushing up, grabbing that health relic, forcing people to fall down on traps. Rise being fairly low right now, going to grab that health relic and try to get himself topped up there. But Soraka, as the game goes on, her sustain is going to be better than the Alice's by far.
Absolutely.
Not to mention her ability to keep everybody's mana topped up. You notice she's actually using it on Caitlyn a lot because Caitlyn's using a trap every time she gets up to this tower to keep them at bay at their tower. Now, they won that last team fight, but they really didn't get any damage in on the tower because they weren't close enough, and they kind of focused on diving instead of just pulling back and chunking down the tower to half health, which I'm sure they could have done. And it wasn't really an ace either, so they had to worry about the Fiddlesticks, fearing them out of the tower.
Absolutely, because that's what the game is really all about. It's about turning those engagements in and translating them into tower damage. You get 2 or 3 people down, and then how much damage can you put down on that tower? How much of an advantage can you slate yourself into with one engagement? Light Binding does go down onto Caitlyn. Ultimate from Jarvan, and a Lux ult right after that MF ult.
And there's the Fiddlesticks ultimate. The Crowstorm coming in, doing lots of damage. Jarvan's going to go down. Fiddlesticks is already feared. Sorry, he is exhausted. And the fear going down on the Lux. She goes down. Ace in the hole coming down. And that is the great counter engagement we saw right there as Malphite ulted in onto the MF. Didn't interrupt her bullet time, but did enough that Jarvan got so far ahead with his Cataclysm that it ended up being 4v1 with him in there all alone. And now Alistar trying to stop them from pushing down this tower. One more banana. No, the Caitlyn's actually going to pick up that kill right there. And she's the one you want all the kills on right now. Fiddlesticks walking up and fearing that rise, and they really got to watch out for the amount of fear there. Flashing in his Jarvan, but he didn't realize that Kayle was back up as well. He's going to get chunked down to half as Moonchild tries to put a couple double ups in there to ward them off a little bit right now.
Yeah, that was just a bad move on Jarvan's part, coming back in and trying to engage with him.
Oh, and Malphite flashing in for a double kill. MF is going to go down along with Lux, and they're going to go for a 3-for-1 exchange. A great flash in from Malphite. No ultimate needed. They were too low, and here they are getting the kills at the tower and pushing the tower in very hard. Now they're going to have another 5 to 10 seconds to really put a lot of damage in onto this tower as well, because they can't clear that wave without getting into trouble.
Absolutely not. And they're definitely taking advantage of that right now. We see Fiddlesticks using his crows, draining some big creeps. Caitlyn is using her range to push down the tower.
Yep, Caitlyn hasn't even died yet. She's rocking 4.5k right now. Fiddlesticks hasn't died at 3.2k. So the advantage right now, though, is going to come out from the purple side. Once their ultimates are back up, you're going to have Cataclysm back up in a second. Bullet time is almost there, along with Unbreakable Will. They're going to look for a hard engagement on their two main carries that haven't been able to go back and buy, so they're going to be a lot weaker right now.
A little poke damage coming out. Jarvan throwing down standard, but not really going in yet.
And there's Lux out of position. Unstoppable Force taking her out with a good fear right there. And now Malphite just walking into their team, slowing all their attack speed. He doesn't even care as they slow down the Alistar. There's the Fiddle ultimate and the invulnerability coming out there, but bullet time coming back as they try to dive the tower. Cataclysm trying to lock everybody down and save their MF, but the Malphite going to be able to pick up a kill there along with the Kayle. An ace in the hole and a Piltover Peacemaker going to put out the ace for the purple team. Put a laser coming back to take out that Soraka. They're going to get this tower, though, right now, because Lux can't do much to stop them all by herself.
And Kayle's just going in. I'll just slow on her. Able to translate that into a kill. That one. Oh, one quick combo from that. Lux ends up cleaning up Caitlyn and the Kayle. But they're not really going to be able to get much done because the blue side is going to be coming back up soon. And they're not going to be able to push the tower before the rest of the team is back.
Yeah, it was actually a good time to die right there. Caitlyn had not died yet, so she's going to go back. She's got another BF sword, a Sanguine Blade. She's 5-1-7, going right for that IE next. And on top of that, they gave all the gold to Lux. There was no assist gold in on that shutdown. The Kayle there was no assist in on the Kayle. And now Soraka a little too far forward, trying to keep herself alive as Malphite gets in there to slow everybody down. She will stay alive right there, and Malphite doing a great job peeling for her squishy little unicorn.
I like that nickname for a squishy little unicorn.
Deceptively squishy, though. Running heal and having Last Wish on top of her Astral Blessing is a burst of heal. So she might look like she's low health, but if she's not silenced or CC'd, she can top herself up very quickly.
This is the part where some fan starts drawing all the heals pictures with Soraka holding up her little moon wand.
Yeah, but now they're going to try to push into this inhibitor. They're going to force them to engage right now. The Cataclysm's just about back up. They're going to have every ult up right here. They're not going to have the flashes they need, though, from Alistar and the rest of the team to get a very hard synced engage. But they're just letting too much free damage happen right now to this inhibitor. They need to be able to get in there. They got to catch Caitlyn in a light binding and take her out quickly.
Malphite is just too much a threat for this team, though, right now. He just stands in front of there, and nobody wants to go in. Because they know they'll get hard, and the rest of the team's able to capitalize on that.
And there's the engagement, the flash out of the Cataclysm. The bullet time is going to be interrupted as the Fiddlesticks gets in there with tons of damage, just silencing everybody, wreaking havoc, and Malphite sticking to the MF like glue. That is going to be a 3-for-0 exchange and a free inhibitor right there. And they engaged on the Caitlyn like they needed to, but she had flash, and none of the purple team had it to continue to get in there. Ace in the hole, sniping out that red-headed beauty right there. And now they're going to be able to push down possibly some base turrets right here. Alistair doing whatever he can to slow them down. Gonna go down to that Kale right there, and they have a huge advantage at the moment as they start spawning.
They could actually turn this into a game. Oh, they don't have the creep wave for it though. Their creeps are just now coming back in.
They don't have the super minions coming yet. The first super minion wave has just spawned. So these waves are going to be nuked down very quickly. There's Jarvan getting in there. The Lux laser coming down. Caitlyn being the target right now, going down to that MF. Fiddle trying to tank his way to victory, going to get to rise in the process, but Malphite's going to go down to the MF. There goes the Kale, and Soraka is left all by her lonesome. A quadra kill coming out for that MF, and very close to a pentakill, but the Lux snipes one of those kills in there.
Scumbag Lux stealing the kill for the AD carry. They're going to be able to turn this probably into at least one tower pickup before everybody else is coming back up, because I don't think everybody's going to be up in time for them to be able to stop them from pushing this tower down.
Yeah, Jarvan's pushing hard camping now, but they have.
I was going to say the super minions actually, yeah, maybe going to stop them from being able to do this. They actually might not be able to get this tower.
Caitlyn's here trying to clear the wave at distance. Now she has Malphite here. He doesn't have the unstoppable force, but it's almost back up. And they're one engagement away from winning this game.
Absolutely, and I don't really see any way that Purple Team's going to be able to stall this out long enough to be able to come back and win this game.
You know, I've seen some crazy comebacks, and all it takes is another good engagement from the Purple Team to get their inhibitor back up. I mean, if they get one engagement where they're very healthy, they'll get the inhib back up, and they'll be able to kind of hold their ground a little bit. But until that comes back up, their towers are going to get poked down. You see one tower right now with 100 HP. It's one Caitlyn auto attack away. She already has IE. She has the Sanguine Blade. She's rocking 290 damage before the Sanguine Blade stacks. So you get 6 attack damage per stack. So that's 5 stacks at 30 AD. So she can get up to 320 AD right now. And that is a lot of damage for a team that really only has armor on the Rise and a touch of armor on the other champions, but not enough to make a difference. There's a flash Cataclysm. The intervention is going to come down, but the Fiddle ultimate coming in with the Zhonya's out right there. This is going to be the end of the game. Unstoppable Force jumping in onto that MF, even though she's using bullet time. The silence onto Lux. Piltover Peacemaker picking up that kill. Malphite just tanking it out. And Caitlyn getting the last auto attack on MF as she dies dramatically in the fountain. And that is going to be game. Blue team being very commanding. They call us Never taking that game, and they're going to get into the semifinals.
Congratulations to those guys. That was a wonderful game.